So the Ballon Dor ceremony is upon us, 30th of October in 2 days time. So I've decided to put together my top 10 list for the award this year. Firstly, the awards that would be given out is the men's, the goalkeeper award, the Yashin Trophy for the best striker, the Gerd Muller award, as well as the Kopa award for the best youngster. I will not be making a comment on the Women's Footballing Association and awards. Because simply I'm not the best person to ask, right? So the men's club of the year will obviously be Man City. Not only did they win the long coveted Champions League finally, but they also won a treble, so it was an outstanding season for them, so no doubt about that. Onto the Kopa trophy, I think Jude should win this one. I think a close runner-up would be Jamal Musiala, but Jude had a fantastic season, Bundesliga player of the season at 20, in a season where Dortmund had just lost Haaland and Sebastian Haller was injured for most of the season. I think it was an amazing carry job by Jude Bellingham at 20, captain. He's continued his form even in Real Madrid, although Musiala had more assists and won Bundesliga and more goals as well. I just think Jude was the overall better player. The Yashin Trophy is not so easy to call because based on the criteria you use, I think it's all over the place. Onana kept the most clean sheets, inspiring Inter to a Champions League final spot, although Ederson kept multiple clean sheets and made crucial saves as well, especially in the Champions League quarterfinal, semi-final and final. You know, he wasn't the best shot stopper, I would say. I think that was actually Courtois. He showed again why he was awarded the trophy last season, because Real Madrid were not so good and he had more chances to show his capabilities. But I think ultimately it should just go to Emi Martinez. I think his heroics in the World Cup have done enough for him to deserve the trophy. And this is also not to mention the fact that he inspired Villa to a Europe position finish, 7th place. And obviously he was a big part of that. So I think he had an amazing season from my point of view. The Gerd Muller award is obviously going to go to Erling Haaland as the best striker. We know that this is some sort of, I don't know, is it a consolation cup? What would you call it? Consolation trophy? Because in the past few times it's been given to people that technically it looks like we're gonna be runner-up for Ballon Dor. So I'm still not sure how to feel about that trophy overall. Why don't we have any trophy for best midfielder, best defender? I feel like it perpetuates the attacking notion again, that attackers are more important, although it is the most difficult part of the game, because technically most of the goals are technically and in theory avoidable and preventable, but still I don't think there's a more important position, especially in modern football. Definitely keeper, CDM, you know, the defense as well. Now onto the Ballon d'Or award itself. Here's a list of the previous winners. I should mention that Ballon d'Or should do the right thing and give Lewandowski his 2020 Ballon d'Or, which was cancelled due to COVID, so technically no one won it, but I think we can all agree Lewandowski deserves that. And I think they should do the right thing and retrospectively award it. Now here's the list of the nominees, and for the purpose of this video we'll be focusing on the men's section of the award. Take into account that in this case it's been specified that individual performances should be priority over trophies, second place, and also they take into account behavior, other things like fair play and things like that. And a reminder that voting is based on last season, 2022-2023, not calendar year, not everything that happened in 2023. So no, Cristiano Ronaldo's heroics at Al Nassr will not be considered for the Ballon d'Or, unfortunately. Let me get into my list. Just some honorable mentions. Mo Salah had a very good season personally for him, although people will say it was below par for him. That just shows that he's a victim of his own high standards, and also Liverpool as a whole didn't do well. So I guess for my list as well, that's what I've taken into account. Players like Odegaard and Saka from Arsenal would not necessarily make the list because Arsenal was not in the Champions League and they couldn't showcase their talents on the world stage. Just some other honorable mentions like Bernardo Silva, who had an incredible season with City. Obviously not much going forward in terms of statistics, but we know the role that he plays for Man City. And just falling shy of my top 10 is Kvaratskhelia or Kvaratskhelia. give up. But anyway, he was amazing. Breakthrough season for him. But just like Rashford, he also went through that dry patch. From February or something. No goals, no assists. It was really, disappointing. But let me get into my top 10. Firstly, I will go with Lautaro Martinez. Absolutely amazing season for him. Although Inter won some cups, he was the best player in that Inter Milan team. Not very impressive in the league, but pushed Man City all the way in the Champions League final. Very big part of that. Not just his goals, but his hold-up play and his physicality. Very important to the side. At number 9, I have Julian Alvarez, who is a teammate of Lautaro Martinez in Argentina, and we know he took his role basically during the World Cup and actually came up with some very excellent performances. He also put in some good performances in that City team, although he kind of was playing a second role and didn't have the most minutes, but very impressive, especially taking into account his goal per game or his goal per minutes played ratio. Next, I have Victor Osimhen. I think he was the most important player that Napoli had, the best player in Serie A for me last season, and because of that helped Napoli to their first Serie A title in years, and also reaching the quarterfinals of the Champions League. I felt like they should have maybe done a little bit better, get to the semi-finals. They looked very impressive last season, but besides that, I think it was great. Then I have Gundogan. Ilkay Gundogan should have been a little bit higher if he was able to replicate his form that he always has when he turns into prime R9, when the title charge is on the line. Second half of the season, last 10 games of the season specifically, Gundogan becomes the best player in the league, literally. And if he was just able to have that form from the beginning, he should be so much higher up than what he is now. Outside my top 5, I have Rodri, probably the most consistent player of any player last season. Chipped in with a few goals and a few assists as well, and was obviously named UEFA Champions League Player of the Season. I think it was very important to that Man City side, and obviously we have a lot of Man City players because they won the treble, Napoli players because they did so well, and an Inter Milan player got to the final, of course. But in 5th place, I have Vinicius Jr., almost single-handedly carried Real Madrid to whatever they were about to achieve last season. Obviously, they didn't win the league, they didn't win Champions League, but got to the semi-final, and he had double-digit 20-plus goals and 20-plus assists. What an impressive season for Vinicius Jr., especially since Benzema's numbers really dropped down from his Ballon d'Or season. But I think Vinicius Jr. was the best player at Real Madrid, and it was a carry job from him in terms of attack last season. Maybe a controversial one, but I have Mbappe outside of the top 3 in number 4. Yes, he had probably a lot of goals, 55 goals in total, and he obviously had that brilliant performance in the World Cup final, specifically finished as top scorer in the World Cup. I think he was absolutely great, but I just feel like the players that I have above him had more of impressive seasons than Mbappe himself. In 3rd, I have Kevin De Bruyne. I think his contributions have gone under the radar. Let's not forget, he's a midfielder. He was not necessarily playing a free role. He was not necessarily playing number 10, 32 assists, 10 goals. That's lots of goal contributions directly involved in the Champions League. We can't say anything because he was injured in the final, yes, but 2 assists in the FA Cup final. City only scored 2 goals. He got that crucial away goal at the Bernabeu, probably the most important goal of the competition. He got some assists against Bayern. He got assists against Real Madrid in the second leg as well. I think he showed up for City many times, not to mention that in the league he won Playmaker Award for the most assists, and for me that was very, very impressive, and that's earned him my top 3. I think the top 2 places are common knowledge between Erling Haaland and Messi. Those are the people battling out for the Ballon d'Or. And in 1st place, for someone that should win the Ballon d'Or, in my opinion, I am going with
Harry Maguire.
He can score with his left foot. He can score with his right foot. He can score from distance. He's probably the best poacher now in world football. He can score with penalties. And if you stick it in the box and hang it up there, he'll go and score with a header. I do think he's the greatest football player that has ever lived.
Harry Maguire.
That's why he's the GOAT! The GOAT!
I'm joking. That's my GOAT. Anyway, I'm going with Samuel Umtiti.
Le numéro 5 de notre équipe de France, Samuel!
I'm joking, let's be serious. But I am okay with the award being given to Messi. I think a lot of the public is split on what weighs more between a World Cup and a Treble. And people are like, should we just base the Ballon d'Or on that 7-game tournament? And yes, I think that's the standards that have been set before. The World Cup is the biggest sporting competition in the world. It's the biggest match in the world. Watched by billions of people, and it's bigger than the Olympic Games themselves. So for me, performing in the World Cup is a standard that I respect, and it's always been the case that someone who performs in the World Cup or in an international tournament will be ranked higher in the Ballon d'Or. And it's been proven time and time again. People will say this is a robbery, but the truth is it would not be technically the first robbery if that's the standard that's been set. Wesley Sneijder, Iniesta and Xavi in 2010, Ronaldo in 2018, Modric won it over him because of the World Cup. It's as simple as that. Ribéry once won every trophy available, but Ronaldo was given the Ballon d'Or based on individual performances. And then in 2018, we have France winning the World Cup, Griezmann's numbers or ranking being pushed higher in the Ballon d'Or, which pushes Messi out of the top 3 when he had the most goal contributions of anyone, but no trophy. We've seen things like this. Modric's performance, even though he didn't even win the World Cup, but as best player, it had pushed him towards the Ballon d'Or award itself. All of those things have been considered a robbery. Manuel Neuer won the World Cup in 2014 and other competitions with Bayern Munich, didn't get the award. Considered a robbery. It would not be the first time that something has been considered a robbery. We've been living in robberies all the time. Whatever you think is whatever you think, but essentially it's basically confirmed that Messi will win the award, and I think I'm fine with it. Like, it's not shocking. I don't know why people are shocking and saying it will lose its value. I think if it was going to lose its value, it should have lost its value a long time ago, because we still at the moment not necessarily sure what they use to rank, but we definitely do know that the World Cup is still the end all and be all almost. So yeah, with that being said, that's my ranking. I actually did an in-depth video. You can check it out when I predicted that this was going to happen basically 2 months ago, and I went in depth with the criteria that they used. We looked at year on year who had won it that specific year and why. You can check it out if you want, but besides that, that's my ranking. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please leave a like, subscribe. See you in the next one. Peace.